Hi, my name is Miss Emolyn, and I'm a teaching artist in the PACE art program. We integrate the arts with classroom curriculum. I'll be working with you all year long through these videos, and we're going to explore lots of different subjects throughout the year. You'll recognize some of the things you're learning with your teacher, but we'll be learning about them through visual arts and creative movement. You might be watching today from your classroom with your classmates, or maybe you're watching from home. We're coming to you today thanks to the Acadiana Center for the Arts and the Lafayette Parish School System. You can find these videos anytime through the Lafayette Parish School System website or the Acadiana Center for the Arts YouTube channel. Let me introduce myself. My name is Emolyn Liden, and I'm a visual artist, but I also love to play music, dance, and create all kinds of things. I love to use all kinds of art supplies too to make unique and interesting art. My favorite is working with color, whether it's painting or drawing, or making collages with paper, or perhaps making something to hang up in the window so the sun can shine through. We learn through art how to make our dreams come to life. We are actually going to start today's art lesson with a brain break so that we can stay centered and focused, so that we can learn and absorb everything that we're working on today. You might notice, if you have to sit in your chair for a long time, that sometimes we sit back or we cross our legs or we kind of slump over and we start feeling sleepy and we start feeling like we can't listen to new information. We're just not ready. So what I'm going to show you next is something you can practice at any time. You can practice it by yourself, or you can even teach it to your parents when you get home. It works for everybody. So we're going to first sit up so that we're not leaning on the back of our chair. And if your legs are crossed, put both of your feet flat on the floor. We're going to say planted on the floor, because we want to start feeling like we are here now. We have shown up to learn, and we are going to use this breathing exercise to really prepare ourselves to being here now. With your feet planted on the floor, sitting tall, your back is straight, your shoulders are down and rested, and your hands are on your knees. First, we're just going to practice reaching up to the sky and see how it lengthens your back and makes you feel like you can open up and breathe better. Okay, so with me, take both hands and reach up to the sky. And just reach, and you can look up if you want. And then we're going to reach and see if we can touch the ceiling with our right hand and our left hand. And we're just going to play around with it a little bit. And then bring our hands back down to the edge of our knees, because this is a planting feeling. We're planting our hands, we're planting our feet, because we are here now. Next time, let's reach up with both hands and practice breathing in, or inhaling to the top of our lungs, and we're going to inhale to the top of our fingers. Slowly at the end, we'll bring our hands back down. Ready? Inhale and breathe in, and then breathe out, bringing them back down to our knees. Next time, inhale, and we're going to reach our right hand up and our left hand up, and then we're going to practice exhaling or breathing out, letting the air come out as we bring our hands back to our grounding position. Ready? Inhale, reach your right, your left, and then exhale. You'll notice if you look up, when you exhale, you bring your eyes back to resting position. Okay? Let's try that one more time, and I'm going to prompt us with the breathing, but also with our words that we want to start thinking. So breathe in, we're going to inhale, be, right hand down, here, now. Beautiful, good job. So we're going to do that one more time. Remember, reach up, inhale, resting down, we're going to exhale. Ready? Breathe in, be, here, now. Now we know we're inhaling as we reach up and we're exhaling as we bring our hands down, but instead of me saying breathe in, breathe out, I want you to just do that. Remember, breathe in, breathe out. But what we're going to say instead is be here now. If you want to whisper those words with me, you can. Are you ready? And be here now. And notice how you feel. Do you feel grounded? Do you feel ready? Okay, let's learn something new. Okay, second graders. Our topic today is going to be about our community and the landscape. We have had a couple months of summer, and I'm sure you got outside to run around and try different things. And if you're sitting in a classroom right now, I want you to see if there's a window. Can you look outside the window real quick? Because one key component of our artwork and our topic is that the landscape is what is outside and what is around us. If you are at home studying this lesson, I hope that you can find a window, or maybe you are working outside. So what is in that landscape? What do we notice? One thing about landscape is that it also involves us as people. So if we think about ourselves, our friends, our families, we're getting a bigger and bigger group, right? We're all interconnected. From our families, we can think about our school, and then our town, our city, our state, our world, right? And the world is the place where we live, and the landscape is where we live. So thinking more along those lines, what are the physical characteristics of our landscape? Because our landscape is going to be different than people around the world. So we have some pictures up, and I want to start thinking about what are the physical characteristics of our landscape. Because when we apply this to our art project, those physical characteristics that we can identify, that we can start talking about and describing and using new words, that is what we are going to learn to draw. And then when we add those characteristics together, we're going to create a piece of art using lines, curves, different shapes about the physical landscape. So if you did have a chance to look outside the window, what did you see? Can you raise your hand and tell your teacher right now? Awesome. Can you whisper to your friend? What did you see? And if somebody gave you an answer that you didn't think about, isn't it cool that they shared something that you weren't even thinking about? Our landscapes have all kinds of physical characteristics. Maybe you didn't even notice something before, and now, after hearing an answer from your friend, you're noticing even more. So, we have some pictures up here to dive in and start talking about our landscape. These are things that maybe we do have in our landscape, but then there's some things that we don't, right? If we look at, let's say, this picture right here, we don't know where this is, but we do notice that we have some straight lines. And if you look far away, we have a straight line back there. The lines quickly start defining those physical aspects of the landscape. Do you see another straight line? How about right here? I'm kind of drawing it with my finger all the way straight across. How about another straight line? I'm sure you can see a lot of them. Yeah, if we look lower down, here's one right here. We're going to practice drawing straight lines. And straight lines can be easy to draw. I mean, you're in second grade, you might have practiced these already, but it takes a nice, steady hand to draw those straight lines. So if you want to, you can pretend that you have a pencil in your hand and reach down on your desk. Of course, not using your pencil, right? We don't want to draw on our desk at school. But just pretend pencil and draw a nice straight line on that surface. Noticing you're not moving a lot. You're just slowly drawing a distinct and straight line. Good. Now, if we look at the other characteristics in our landscape pictures, let's move down to this one. Do we have a diagonal line? A diagonal line is a line that leans. And if we demonstrate a line that leans, we can use movement, meaning let's use our own body. Where do we have a line on our own body? We do. Yes, we have a line right here. And if we want to really see a long, long line, what if we go all the way down to our elbow, drawing that straight line? And notice, just like we pretended with our pencil, if we draw, that straight line's got to go straight down. Now, if we lean this line this way, we have created a diagonal. Diagonals are lines that lean, but they're also lines that can meet up with another diagonal. So everybody put your hands like this, and we're noticing a physical characteristic of our landscape. What does this look like? It comes together at the top. It is two diagonal lines. If we looked outside, or think about your own house. Do you see two diagonal lines that lean? You might want to get off the school bus today and stop in front of your house and look up and be like, look, those two lines are leaning together and making the roof of my house. Okay? Do we see in this picture where there are some diagonal lines? We see some straight lines, and then, you're right, if we hop over, we start to see tops of buildings that are diagonal lines. How many diagonal lines do you see? Or tops of the buildings? In this picture, we see 1 tucked right there in the back, 2, and 3. Nice job. Now we know this is a landscape because we know we can go into these buildings, right? Our community lives here. Our friends live here. Our teachers live here. And we also know it's a landscape because we have some trees, right? And we have the sky. So if you're ever wondering what is a landscape, some of the key characteristics are that it is outside. Now, we can play around with inside landscapes or building a landscape inside, but for today, we want to think about what's outside. Okay? Now, moving on, we have a landscape where we live. But I pulled out a picture to show you an awesome landscape that you might have to travel to. In your city, or maybe you live in the country, you can start noticing what's around you. You can start appreciating that landscape. But what about landscapes that are different from yours? Maybe this is more like your landscape. Maybe this will inspire your art, right? Because we are going to learn how to build art, but it's really good to start with what we know and what we recognize. So, looking at this landscape, oh, he's in a kayak. How fun is that? And in the water. But do we have a lighthouse? Do you have a lighthouse in your landscape? You might not, but if we use other pictures of other places, or we travel to other places, we can use that for inspiration. Here is a piece of art made by a kid just like you, and we have these curved lines of a hill, and we have quick and easy landscapes that are telling you a story, right? They're telling you they're outside. They're telling you maybe they like to go hiking. Here's a picture done by a professional, and this is watercolor and drawing. In this landscape, do we see the hills in the background, right? A hill is a mound, it's raised land, and it's smaller than a mountain. Do we see a straight line right here? The straight line tells us that it's like a plain, right? A plain, and it's a large area of flat land. I think we have some plains around here, don't you? And we notice that there are no mountains. What does a mountain look like? A mountain is large and tall. Lots of the time, it's a rocky area of land that comes up and out of the Earth's surface. How would that landscape influence our community? Maybe in the mountains we could go rock climbing, but around here, if we don't have a rock, we can't go rock climbing, right? But we do have hills, and we do have a plain, and we do have buildings. So we can do a lot of activities in this community to enjoy our landscape and enjoy our home. And we're going to learn how to draw some of these lines and combine these new lines to make a beautiful piece of art. Okay, we have talked about our community and we've talked about our landscape. So let's start applying some of these ideas and practicing, right? And we want to practice a lot because the first time we do something, it's not going to be perfect. So if you use a blank piece of paper, and we can also make sure our desk is clear, make sure there's not anything that's gonna get in the way of this artwork, okay? Good. Moving things aside, maybe help your friend put a book under the chair. Awesome. Now with your empty piece of paper, there's a lot of opportunity here, right? And we're going to be building and building and building so that at the end, you might have a piece of art like this or like this one day. But it really starts with simple lines, and it really starts with those foundational techniques that you practice over and over and over. Let's practice one. Now the first landscape was the plain, and we spell that P-L-A-I-N. But really, we can demonstrate it with one straight line. So let's draw a plain. We're gonna put things all over the place. So we're just gonna start right here. I'm using a marker, but I think you have a pencil and that works good too. So one straight line, and we're going to go across. Now, if we were using this whole piece of paper and we wanted to show a plane, we would want to go all the way across that page. But because we're practicing and testing, we're just going to put it right there. Another piece, another part of landscape that we can use by drawing straight lines would be a plateau. Now, do we have plateaus around here? Yes or no? Yeah, you're right. We don't really. We've got water and rivers and all kinds of amazing things in our physical landscape. But just for fun, let's draw a plateau. So a plateau is a large area of flat land that is raised higher than the land around it. So let's draw straight lines up and over, okay? Using only straight lines. It's going to be a very steep plateau. So if it is a land that is there and then land that is raised higher, so here's our land, here comes the plain, this is the plain, here's our land, and here's the plateau. Draw this with me. Up, and then it continues on, and we can make it continue on off the page. There's a really fun plateau. Now, just to make our artwork more interesting and fun, let's practice a curved line. Now this curved line can create all types of shapes, right? If we curve the line this way, let's practice this. Curve the line this way. Put your pencil down, make a nice smooth shape with no angles, no points. We make it curve like it's thinking about going back up again. If we think about a physical landscape, what would this curved line apply to? We don't have a lot of them around here, but this is what we could call a valley, right? A valley usually is land where we can look far, far away, all the way down that valley. It's where the hills come together, down in the bottom. Now, we do have some hills, and the hill is another curved line. As we learn to construct our artwork, what if we put this curved line upside down the other way? How could we create some hills? Okay, let's just do one curved line. And it can be nice and simple, right next to the valley. That's a pretty tall hill, and it's all by itself. Can we add another hill right next to it? Pick up your pencil. Let's start about halfway up and draw a hill beside it. Okay? There's a nice hill. Now, noticing we're not doing a diagonal point. It's not like the top of a building or the steepness of the top of a mountain, no. It's curved because a hill is just a mound of raised land that is smaller than a mountain. So let's make this 3 hills, and we can make a hill go right off the page. Is it starting to look like a landscape? Are we starting to communicate a story? Now, if we were adding this into our piece of art, this landscape is inspiring us to think about different things. Maybe we're thinking about hiking, right? Because these are physical characteristics that are defining our community and defining our artwork. Okay, last thing, we have the plains, we have a plateau, we have the hills, and a valley. Let's make this valley connect to a mountain. Okay? Practicing a new shape to add in is our diagonal line. Now, the valley is in between mountains, so if we put a mountain on both sides, we are going to communicate, yes, what a valley landscape looks like, but also what that mountain landscape looks like. So take your pencil, and we're going to make a diagonal line. And this line leans, so it needs to have a point. Good. Now let's bring that mountain down on the diagonal. That's it. We're going to go up one more time, another mountaintop, diagonal line. Then we're going to make the mountain disappear behind those hills. How do we do that? We make this line disappear because we make it stop on the top of the hill. So pick up your pencil, practice a diagonal line all the way down to the top of that hill. Beautiful. And let's make this valley turn into a mountain. And how would we do that mountain top, right? We would need a diagonal line. Okay? Last part, with your pencil, we're going to make a diagonal line, and it's going to disappear off the page all the way up like that. Now these are simple lines, straight, curved, and diagonal, but guess what? We have now created a fun new landscape. All right, so we learned our lines, we got to practice our lines, and what were they? Can we say those 3 lines together? Just as a reminder, let's say them together. Straight line, vertical line, horizontal line. I'm sure you learned all of that in first grade, right? What was another line we learned today? What was this one called? A line that leans is a diagonal line up and a diagonal line down. Nice. And our third line, what was that? Yep, curved line. Reaching up this way makes a nice valley. And a curved line going the other way makes a nice hill. So now that we have all those skills, if we combine the lines together, we start composing a piece of art, composing a landscape, and composing a story, right, to define what we're trying to make. So let's compose that landscape. Let's pick a couple of these lines and put them together. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, and if you drew a lot of examples on your piece of paper, you can flip it over because you've got a whole new blank piece of paper on the other side. And with our materials today, we had paper and a pencil, and I encourage you later, if we don't have time right now, to add in some color. So how should we compose this picture? Everybody's going to have a different picture, right? Let's work with our plain, that piece of land that is flat. And let's start, and we're going to go all the way across with that straight line. Here we go. Now, notice how Now this landscape, just by putting one straight line, is starting to build into something new. Okay, let's continue to compose this landscape. What do you see in your mind? What do you see outside? What have we recognized in other parts? Yeah. What if we put a hill, but this time we put it far away? So coming out of the plain, let's put 3 hills. So work with your pencil and a curved shape, and let's draw nice and slowly so that we can achieve what's in our mind. Remember, it's not a mountain, so we curve it. And here's our valley and our curve of another hill. Good, beautiful. Now let's add the mountain behind it. What line do we need to use to draw a mountain? We will use a diagonal line, right? Because the mountain, they are rocky and they are tall. So that diagonal line will illustrate tall, tall, tall. So let's go behind, we're composing, let's go behind the hill. So put your pencil right there on the hill and go up, diagonal line, down, up, down, nice big mountain. And let's do one more in the back that goes all the way. It's so tall, it goes off the page. All right. I hope that you practice these lines and that you have a landscape now on your piece of paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it is right there on the piece of paper. Now, if we added a couple things to help us define this landscape, what could we put right in the front? If you have a green, you could do some nice green grass just by putting some diagonal lines, right? And grass is messy, so that's just perfect. You can practice these things later on by yourself too. And if we wanted to communicate very simply the sky, the quickest and easiest way is to practice with a blue crayon, and we can rub by using the side of the crayon, and we can just put in our blue sky. So I encourage you for your next practice piece of a landscape to start experimenting with color and see how color can help communicate that physical landscape that we see. Great work. Thank you for joining me today for this art lesson. We learned so many things. We learned about different kinds of lines. We learned a little bit about landscapes and the world around us. We learned how to compose a simple landscape using those lines. And now we're trying to notice what is in our landscape and what can we create from what we see in our landscape. I want you to remember our breathing exercise, and I challenge you to do it again if you're ever feeling like you can't focus, if you're feeling like things are moving too fast for you and you want to just settle back and be here now. Then you can reach up to the sky, breathe in, breathe out, and be here now. These things are really important for us. They're important for us to absorb our learning. They're important for us to get the energy again, to try harder, to practice, right? So don't forget that breathing exercise. And I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. Remember my challenge in the beginning when you get home? And before walking into the door and being like, I'm home, take a second to be here now and look around, look at the horizon, look at the plain, look at the top of your house and say, wow, how do those two lines meet? Because we're building the artist within, right? You are an artist. You can create what you have inside, what your dreams are, right? So I want you to enjoy the rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you next week.